Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm ALEXEY TYURIN from ERP Scan company, and today I will tell you about attacks on Oracle Peoplesoft applications. Yep. Yeah. A few words about me. I am a pen tester, and I like to hack ERP systems, ERP enterprise business applications, and so on, because they contain a lot of different technologies, strange network protocols, and and we can find a lot of different strange and funny vulnerabilities in enterprise business applications. Yeah. So, and today I will show you some of my findings in Peoplesoft applications. And here our agenda for this talk. At first I will tell you about Peoplesoft applications and its architecture, and then I will show you some attacks on it. Yeah. Introduction to Oracle Peoplesoft. Actually, there are a lot of different applications, Peoplesoft applications, like HR management system, financial management system, ERP, CRM, and so on, for different critical business processes of companies. And a lot of different big companies, corporations use the software for their business. Yeah, the most part of them are from the United States and from different industries. Yeah. Actually, this system contains a lot of critical information, like personal information, payment information, and so on. So this is a really interesting target for attacker, because he can steal this information, or he can perform some fraud operation, and there are some opportunities to steal money, for example. Yeah, and we have some real cases when somebody successfully hacked a Peoplesoft application. Yeah. But on the other hand, there is almost no information for pen testers to check the security level of Peoplesoft application, because there is almost no information from vendor. There are a lot of advisories, but they don't give us any valuable information how to hack, how to test the application. So I decided to perform this research, and I found some vulnerabilities, and today I will share my knowledge with you. But if you want to understand how to attack Peoplesoft applications, we need to understand its architecture. As I said, there are a lot of different applications, like HR management system, financial management system, and so on, but all of them are based on one architecture, Peoplesoft .NET architecture. And actually, yeah, we can see it here. There are three main components: web server, application server, and the database. Yeah, web server, it can be Oracle Weblogic or IBM WebSphere, and a web server stores Peoplesoft Servlets. But these servlets don't perform any business logic. They just take requests from user browsers and resend them to application server. Yeah. The second component is application server. It consists of Oracle Tuxedo. Oracle Tuxedo is a kind of a dispatcher for requests from user browsers, from here, and connections to the database. So this is a dispatcher for connections. And Peoplesoft Servlets, services. Actually, they perform all business logics of Peoplesoft applications, yeah, this is the core component of Peoplesoft itself. And the last component is the database. It stores all information from Peoplesoft application and all meta-information. Meta-information is information about users, their privileges, and so on. So the architecture is pretty common for all enterprise business applications. Yeah. And as attackers, we have here two main targets. The first one is to get high privileged access in Peoplesoft itself. Our target here is to get PS account. This is a super admin account in Peoplesoft with all privileges in Peoplesoft. And the second target for us is to get remote command execution in the operating system of Peoplesoft application on one of components. Yeah. And so let's move on to attacks on Peoplesoft. And at first I will show you attacks on backend systems when an attacker is located in the same network as backend systems. When attacker has a network access to the database or to application server. Yeah. But if we want to attack them, we need to know something about a special feature, about a backend authentication of Peoplesoft. There are a few terms, important terms for us. User ID is an account in the Peoplesoft application itself, and Connect ID and Access ID are accounts in the database. One of them is low privileged, and one of them is high privileged. And on this slide, we can see the steps of backend authentication. At first, user logs into the Peoplesoft application. He sends its own credentials, user ID, and its password. Then application server connects to the database with Connect ID account. As I said, this is a low privileged account. But with this account, the application server can check the user's credentials. And if the comparison goes successful, then application server takes access ID and its password from another table in the database. Yeah. And when the application server takes this access ID, then he can reconnect to the database with access ID and with full access in the database. So this is a kind of complicated, maybe a method of authentication. But the most important part for us here, a Connect ID account. Yeah, as I said, with Connect ID account, this is a low privileged account, but with this account we can access two important tables. The one of them contains users' credentials, but password is hashed with salt. Yeah, you can see it here. And another one, a PS access profile table. It contains, it stores access ID and its password. And if you look at here, it's encrypted. But we made a little research and we found that actually this is not encryption, almost no. Because this is just a XOR operation with a hard-coded key. And this key is the same for all Peoplesoft applications. Yeah, for all versions. So we, as attackers, we can, if we have a Connect ID and if we have a network access to the database, we can easily get access ID from the table and decrypt it and pound the whole Peoplesoft application with access ID. Yeah, but where can we get Connect ID? Actually, there are a lot of places where can we get, and one of them is developers. Actually, there are two types of developers in Peoplesoft applications. The first one is two-tier developers. They connect directly to the database with IDE. Yeah, and the most important part for us here that credentials for the database is stored in Windows registry. So as attackers, if we get access to the workstation of two-tier developers, then we can easily get these values from the Windows registry and decrypt it and connect to the database with access ID. Another one type of developers is three-tier developers. They connect to the application server, and then application server connects to the database. And in this situation, three-tier developers don't have accounts in the database. So this is maybe a more secure way at first glance. Yeah, developer use their own user ID and its password. And actually, there is a possibility to create a read-only developer, for example. But if we have a closer look at this protocol, which is used by a developer to connect to the application server, we will see that actually this is just SQL queries that are encapsulated into this special taxonomy protocol that I use it for connection between developer and the application server. And these queries are executed by the database with access ID account. So even low privileged three-tier developer actually have all privileges in the database. We just need to inject our SQL queries in this protocol. Yeah, and our queries will be executed by the database. And here, another one example of this strange protocol. As I said, a developer connects to the application server, and the application server connects to the database. And in our traffic as a developer, we can see all requests between application server and the database. So we can see here, application server ask, where is it? Yeah, about access ID and access ID password. Yeah, this is request from application server to the database, but as developers, we can see it too in our traffic. And here we have encrypted values of access ID and its password. So in other words, any three-tier developers actually have all access in the database, and all of them know the access ID and its password. Yep. Yeah. So let's move on to attacks on front-end system, when attacker has access only to a web server. Actually, there are a lot of Peoplesoft applications in the internet. We can find it easily with Google Docs. And I checked some of them, and I will show you some statistics about that, about my findings. Yeah. And as I said, this component, web server, it could be Oracle Weblogic or IBM WebSphere. But the most popular is Weblogic. And actually, a standalone version of Weblogic is by default configured in secure way. Yeah. But when a Weblogic is installed together with Peoplesoft application, it is configured in insecure way. For example, a Weblogic management console is located on the same network interface and on the same port as Peoplesoft application itself. So I checked a lot of Peoplesoft application in the internet, and a lot of them have Weblogic management console that are accessible through the internet. But moreover, when Weblogic is installed together with Peoplesoft application, it has some default credentials. For example, system account, operator, and monitor. Yep. With well-known passwords. And if we have success, if we check these credentials for Weblogic console, and if we have system account, we can easily install a new application into Weblogic. And so we have here remote command execution in the operating system, because we can install our new application. And a little bit later, I will show you a demo. But both of these accounts, operator and monitor, what we can do with them? Actually, we can do almost nothing with them, because they have low privileged roles in Weblogic. But I made a little research, and I have found classic vulnerability in Weblogic. Actually, the idea is pretty simple. A part of authorization checks are performed on the client side by Weblogic. So operator and monitor user actually have a lot of can do a lot of stuff with Weblogic, but they just don't have enough buttons, links, and so on in their interface. But if you know the necessary request which we need to send to the Weblogic, then we can do a lot of stuff. For example, we can install new application into Weblogic. So we have here remote command execution again. But there are some restrictions of Weblogic itself. We can install new applications only from local files with special extensions. I tested different tricks to bypass these restrictions, and I have success only with the last one for Windows operating system. Actually, we can set a path to a UNC path, like here, to remote hosts, and the operating system automatically downloads this file, and Weblogic in this situation doesn't think that this file is remote. It thinks that it is a local file. So in this situation, we can install a new application, for example, a shell we can install into Weblogic. Yep. And I have a little demo. We log in the Weblogic, a system, welcome system, and we have here a lot of buttons to install new software into Weblogic. And as operator, user, we don't have these buttons. So this is a kind of authorization checks on the client side, because if we send a direct request to the Weblogic, all our requests will be executed by Weblogic, because there is no authorization checks on the server side. And here we put on our share resource our GSP shell. And then we need just to run our exploit that will send some requests to the Weblogic with operator, user. We will see. No? Oop. Okay. And now I think we can see that new application, Able application, was installed with operator user. Yeah, and this is the path. And here we can see that it was installed from our share resource. And some commands, yeah, we can execute commands in the operating system with our shell. Okay. So the main idea here is that a Weblogic console is accessible through the internet, and it has some default credentials that we can use to install our new application, and we have the opportunity to get remote command execution in the operating system. And let's move on to Peoplesoft Servlets. Yeah, there are a lot of them, and they have a lot of different vulnerabilities. And some of them were really dangerous. For example, XML external entity injection vulnerabilities. I have found them in several servlets. Yeah, there is no authentication. We can read plain text files. We can read XML files. We can perform server-side request forgery attacks, and so on. But what we can read with XXE injection? There are a lot of actually configuration file in Peoplesoft application, and a lot of them stores credentials for some subsystems of Peoplesoft application. But some of those credentials are encrypted. But in my opinion, the encryption of Peoplesoft application is pretty bad, because older version of Peoplesoft applications use DES encryption. But the worst thing here is that the key for encryption is hard-coded, and it's the same for all Peoplesoft older versions of Peoplesoft applications. So we can easily decrypt it, yeah, because we know the key. But new version of Peoplesoft applications use triple DES encryption. But again, here there is a default key for encryption. And this key, default key, is the same for all Peoplesoft applications. So if an administrator doesn't change the key, the default key, then we can easily decrypt all passwords that are encrypted with triple DES. And as I know, it's not really easy to change the default key, because if we change this key, we should change all configuration files, all the passwords that were encrypted with old configuration, with old key. Yeah. So what can we do with XXE injection attack? As the first one example that we can, if we have access to the database. Actually, we can read a configuration file that contains Connect ID account. And as we have Connect ID accounts, then we can connect to the database, and we can get access ID and pawn all Peoplesoft database. So we have pawn whole system. And another way is to read all configuration files, whatever we can read, and decrypt all credentials from them, and try to use these credentials for other subsystems of Peoplesoft. And if we have success, we can maybe pawn the Peoplesoft. Yeah. And the last one attack, but the most powerful attack, is related to Peoplesoft SSO technology. Yeah. Actually, Peoplesoft application as ERP system, it supports a lot of different SSO technology, but it also supports its own Peoplesoft SSO technology, proprietary technology. And yeah, how does it work? Yeah, there are a few steps. At first, when a user, we have two systems, one Peoplesoft application and another one. Yeah, a user logins into the first Peoplesoft application. He sends its own credentials, and HR management system, the first system, checks these credentials and returns to the user some cookies, and one of them is PS token cookie. This is the most important for us and for Peoplesoft SSO technology cookie. Then, if the user tries to connect to another one system, Peoplesoft system, his browser automatically sends a PS token cookie to the second server. And the second server needs only this cookie. It checks this cookie, and if the cookie is okay, then it grants to the user the access to itself. Yeah? So the second server needs only PS token cookie for authentication of user. Yeah, so there is no additional connection between these servers. They just need to be configured in some way. So the second server needs only PS token cookie for authentication of users. And let's have a closer look at PS token cookie itself. Actually, this is a base 64 encoding of SAM values. PS token cookie contains user ID. This is a username of user. Language code, it is a language of user's interface. Date and time issued, it's time when the cookie was created by the first server. Issuing system, it's a name of server. Yeah, that created the cookie. And the last one is signature. Signature is a result of hash function of all these values plus node password. Yeah. There are few important things about Peoplesoft SSO technology. At first, any Peoplesoft application is actually a Peoplesoft node. Yeah, and any Peoplesoft node has its own unique name, node name. Yeah? And if you want to implement Peoplesoft SSO technology between two servers, or maybe more than two servers, then we need to set on the first server that it trusts to a Peoplesoft node with some name. For example, the first one trusts to a Peoplesoft application with name FMS1, like here. And on the second server, we should, to perform the same operation, we should set that the second server trusts to a Peoplesoft node with name HRMS1. So this one. And another one step here. We as administrators, we need to set that a node password. This password should be the same for all Peoplesoft servers that are involved in SSO technology. So, how does it work again? Second server gets PS token cookie. It decodes it, get all these values from PS token cookie. The second server adds its own node password from here. And it creates its own signature. And if his own signature is the same as the signature from PS token cookie from user, then the second server thinks that this cookie was not modified, and it trusts to this cookie, and it authenticates user with this user ID. So, I think the idea is clear now. Yeah, so what can we do as attackers? Actually, we need to get from somewhere a PS token cookie, any PS token cookie. Then we can decode this cookie and get all values. I mean, user ID, language code, date and time, and node name. So we have everything for signature except node password, because we don't have it. Yeah, but we can perform brute force attack. We can concatenate all these values and add different passwords. And if the result of our signature will be the same as the result from PS token cookie, then we have a correct node password, and then we can create a new cookie. Yeah, because if we can create a fake signature, we can create a new valid PS token cookie. And yeah, as I said, or don't said, for signature, SHA-1 hash function is used for the signature. And as all we know, this is a bad hash function for nowadays, and we can really perform really fast brute force attack with GPU on SHA-1. And actually, the idea came to me maybe a year ago about this attack, but I spent a lot of time to perform this attack in real life, because the real structure of PS token cookie is much more complicated, much more complex, and yeah, I spent a lot of time on it. But and Oracle's documentations, for example, said to me an incorrect order of values in the signature for the correct. Yeah, this I take from the Oracle documentation, but the correct order of values, this one: user ID, language, node name, and date and time. But if you don't have a correct order for hash function, we can create a hash function even if we have all values. Okay, I spent a lot of time on it, but I have had success, and I created a special tool, token spoken tool, and with this tool we can parse PS token cookie, we can perform brute force attack on PS token cookie, and if we have success, if we get node password, then we can create a new PS token cookie with any values. For example, we can create a new cookie for PS account. So we have nothing, and then we can, we have all access. We just need to have success with brute force. But maybe it looks like we can attack only Peoplesoft applications that are involved in SSO technologies. But actually, we can attack even a standalone version of Peoplesoft application. Why? So, because it works almost in the same way, but here it works for one standalone server. Why? Because as I said, any Peoplesoft application is actually a node name. So we have here, yes. Any Peoplesoft node trusts to itself. Yeah, so we have a trusted relationship with itself. So the second option is okay too. And there are a lot of situations when an administrator has to set a node password. So we have success with node password too. So we can perform the same attack on a standalone version of Peoplesoft application. Yeah, for example, and here we have the authentication process on a standalone server. So we can, actually the most important part here, that we can authenticate with PS token cookie that we got from the same server. So in this situation, we can perform the same attack on Peoplesoft application. And I have a little demo about full attack vector. One moment. Okay, we log in to the application as a non-privileged user. Yeah, this is a common user in Peoplesoft application. Then, as we authenticated to Peoplesoft application, then we have a PS token cookie. And as we have PS token cookie, we can perform an attack on it, the attack on PS token cookie. And this is a part of token spoken tool that I created. At first, we need to parse PS token cookie. So we put PS token cookie, and we get all important values. Yeah, we have here user ID, language, node name, and date. And this is a signature of PS token cookie. So then we need to perform brute force attack. There is another one, program of PS token cookie, of token spoken toolkit. Yeah, we perform here a dictionary attack. So we set dictionary, we set signature, and yeah, we have success. We got node password 123 QVE ASD. And now, when we have a node password, we can create any PS token cookie. So we put here username PS, Peoplesoft Super Admin account. We put a node password. And we set language, we set a date and time. So actually, we can, for example, steal really old PS token cookie from somewhere. We can perform a long attack, brute force attack on it. But then when we have success, when we got node password, we can create a new PS cookie that will work because we can change the date. So we created a new PS token cookie. And what we need, just put it into our browser. Yeah. We are deleting all other cookies. Pum, pum, pum. There are a lot of them, but we don't need it. We just need PS token cookie. Yeah, and we set the new value that we just created. Yeah, they are the same from our tool. Yeah, they're the same. Yes, yes, yes. And then we just need to reload the page. So the browser will send this cookie and the server authenticate us as a new user. Oh. Thank you. So we can see here that we are Peoplesoft super user. Yeah, but as I said, we need to have PS token cookie. But what about anonymous attacks on Peoplesoft application? So when we don't have an account in the Peoplesoft application itself. Actually, we can attack these servers, and I will tell you why. But if you want to understand why, we need to know something about Peoplesoft application. Specifics. By default, there is no possibilities to get access for anonymous users for some part of Peoplesoft portal. Yeah. But there are a lot of different situations when an administrator has to grant access to some parts of Peoplesoft application for anonymous users. For example, job forms or forgotten password feature. I mean, when a user forgets his passwords, forgets his password, he needs to push on a special button, I forgot my password button, for example, and there should be a special subcomponent of Peoplesoft application that will restore user's password. But user should be authenticated to use this part of Peoplesoft application. So we have here the situation when anonymous user should have access to Peoplesoft application, to some part of that Peoplesoft application, but there is no possibility to get access to Peoplesoft application without authentication. Yeah, and there is a special feature of Peoplesoft application, a special auto-login user ID. So an administrator has to create a new special user with its own password, and when an anonymous user from the internet tries to connect to a part of application of Peoplesoft applications that should be accessible for anonymous user, then Peoplesoft application automatically authenticate it with this specially created auto-login user. So in this situation, we as attackers, we just need to try to access the part of Peoplesoft application that should be accessible for anonymous user. And yeah, these two features, forgotten password, for example, feature, that feature is enabled on a lot of servers in the internet. Yeah, I checked some in the internet, and actually, yeah, I checked about a half of 1,000 of Peoplesoft applications in the internet, and for 50% of them I got a PS token cookie, and I just check them for the default password for not this password, and for 10% of them I have success. So Actually, the attack is pretty easy in this situation. We can get PS token cookie, and we can perform brute force attack, and we can hack at least 10% of PS token or PS Peoplesoft application in the internet. Right now, maybe. Yeah. And yeah, a few words about protection against this attack. Actually, the most useful way to turn off Peoplesoft SSO technology to turn off. But as I said, there are a lot of situations when administrator has to turn on this feature because, as I said, yeah, here, because there are a lot of situations, because Node always trusts to itself, and because there are a lot of situations when an administrator must to set Node password. And if both of these steps are completed, then Peoplesoft SSO technology is working for Peoplesoft application. Oop. So the most useful way is to set a really strong password for Node or use certificates for the same things. Yep. And I think that's all. Yeah, that's all. Maybe somebody have questions? No? Okay.
I was wondering, the PS token, it was visible so that there is the time of the creation that's hashed, but you don't have a time to live. They can last forever. It means that if you steal one PS token, you can replay it whenever you want.
Yeah, I think I got your question. Actually, yeah, you can steal PS token cookie from any user. It can be a really old cookie, and when you perform brute force attack, it is not important is it old or not, because if you get a Node password with this cookie, we can create a new one with new time. Yeah, we can create a new cookie with new time for any user, maybe for a new node, and so on. So time for us is not a problem here. Yeah? So, thank you.